So that has now begun. So I can welcome everyone to today's ops-focused exhibitor training day. We reckon this session should take about an hour, and then we will wrap up with a few questions. Just a big thank you to everyone for joining us today. We're going to cover off quite a lot of information. The slide deck and any documents we refer to with any links will all be available afterwards, so you don't need to scribble notes down too fast. One of the questions we've had come through from a couple of exhibitors, obviously, about current plans for the show. What are we planning on doing? As you will know, we are still planning for April. The NEC is still running events. They ran the tail end of last year, or the second half of last year, they ran 68 exhibitions across the 6 months. And over their 20 nights of their Christmas dues, they had 32,000 people through the doors. They ran events all through Christmas, ran them all through January, and continue to do so. Spring Fair, which is one of the biggest exhibitions taking place in February, is going ahead, which uses every single hall at the NEC. And their approach is very much putting on successful but safe events. Similarly, a lot of the feedback they've had to current restrictions in place has said that people felt safe at exhibitions. Visitor numbers have been relatively in keeping with the size of shows. So a couple of the shows have had fewer exhibitors, but they have downsized. So that's probably the reason behind that. In terms of to get into the NEC and access the venue, that remains the same as it always has. The only change they've actually made is masks have gone from being recommended to mandatory. But obviously that changes in line with government guidance. But at the moment, they are running a number of events which are getting good numbers of people through the door. So I'm not going to focus too much on that today because that's not what today's about. Just to talk to you a little bit about today's session, we are going to talk about some of the operations. So we are going to be looking at the who's who of contractors in terms of who you need to contact for different services, as well as some of the key deliverables and the deadlines that are coming up. We'll have a look at the access schedule. So we'll talk about build and breakdown times and when you can get access. And we will obviously have a look at the floor plan and just talk through technical information. Sadly to say, you've then got me returning because I'm going to have just a quick brief word about sponsorship and just let you know some of the other opportunities we've got coming up in terms of advertising and sponsorship. And then I'm going to be handing over to Daniel from Visit by GES, who are our data capture and lead generation partner, to talk about some of the options available there. So you'll be glad to know I'm now going to be quiet. I'm going to hand over to Ian Field, who many of you will know from Adfield, who look after our operations. Ian is the operations manager of the show, and he's going to be talking you through some of the operations side. So Ian, if I can hand over to you.
Good morning, everybody. Can you hear me all right, James?
All good.
Excellent. Right, here we go. And everyone can see the screens, I presume. James, you can see that on your screen there?
Yeah, that's all good. Thank you. Excellent.
Okay, so good morning, everybody. Thank you very much for joining. As James said, I'm Ian Field, and I'm Director of Operations for MACH 2022. So today, our plan is to go through a lot of the operations and some of the bits and pieces that we need you to consider before you come to MACH 2022. MACH, the MTA, we pulled together a number of contractors to deliver this show for our exhibitors. And I'm going to just quickly go through the different responsibilities and where you need to go and who can help you with some of your questions and any answers you're going to need as it comes through to the show. It's worth saying there is a question and answer session at the end. You can also use the Q&A function on the Teams system, and we will try and answer all of these as we go through. Today, quite happy to take questions. This is an interactive session. This is not so much a presentation as an information type event, and it's for you as our exhibitors to try and get all the help that you need and to try and help guide you through some of the bits and pieces around MACH. So these are the contractors that we're going to talk about this morning, and just to quickly run through what each of them do. So Adfield, from a services perspective, we're looking after graphics, Premier Parking, and helping with any marketing support. And for those of you that joined the marketing event that we did just before Christmas, you'll know there was quite a lot of information that was available to you from that. From an organisation perspective, Adfield are effectively the principal contractor. We will also be responsible for doing all the stand design approvals. and my colleagues Sue James and Linda Shorthouse are both on this meeting this morning, and it's Linda and Sue who will be handling all the stand design approvals. We also handle all the health and safety for the show, and we will I will be at the show, as probably will the other two of our team, with the MTA in the main organisers' offices, which you will find in Hall 19. So that's where we're going to be based. The NEC obviously are the venue, but they also provide a number of the services. So compressed air. So if your machine, if you're showing a machine and you require compressed air to operate any of the functions on that machine, that needs to be ordered through the NEC. They also do any bolting down. So if your machine or any racking or anything like that needs bolting to the floor, that's another service you can order from the NEC. If you require an internet connection, or you require Wi-Fi internet, there is general Wi-Fi at the NEC, but it, as you could probably imagine, it's more for receiving light emails and that type of thing, rather than for heavy usage. So if you want a heavy usage, or you've got a lot of video you want to stream or anything like that, then we would suggest that you book an internet connection or a Wi-Fi codes that you can use on your stand. If you require any water and waste at the NEC, i.e. you've got a sink on your stand in your kitchen or anything like that, that all has to be ordered through the NEC. And catering, all catering, particularly anything to do with alcohol, due to licensing requirements, is required to be discussed and ordered through the NEC's catering team. Now, all of this is on the MACH website, and everything I'm referring to today, we've got a guide which Nicola will email out to you. If it hasn't already gone, it'll be with you very shortly, which links through to all of these forms on the exhibitor manual, which sits on the MTA's MACH website. Lifting contractor is once again ILS. ILS have worked with the MACH team for a number of years, and have a huge amount of experience of lifting very safely all the equipment that we have to bring into the show. MACH is the largest lift-in of any exhibition at the NEC, and we unloaded more articulated lorries in 2018 than any other show that year. So it's a big logistical operation. I'll go through the timetable in a second, but ILS is our contractor. They are the only contractor allowed to perform any lifting within the hall. So if you've got any exhibit, any equipment or anything like that that requires lifting with a forklift, then ILS will be able to provide that service. It's worth noting, if you're a space-only exhibitor, the first lift of your equipment, your exhibits, not your display, not your stand build, but your exhibits, is actually included within the cost of your stand. So there's no additional cost for some of this in a lot of cases. If you're lifting machines off of lorries, then that, and you're on a space only stand, that will be included within your costs, so you don't know to be paying any extra. ILS can also help you with storage, whether that's machine crates or anything else that needs to be stored during the show. And ILS, if you're cutting on your stand, ILS or doing any other metal removal and you want to dispose of the waste or the swarf, ILS will organise bins for you, and will change those daily for you if that's what's required. Our other major contractor is GES. GES provide most of the other services really. So the main one is electrical, and that's both machinery mains to power up your machines, but also for your stand electrics. So all of that comes via GES. GES are our principal contractor working for the MTA in terms of a lot of this infrastructure. So they will be building the shell scheme stands. They put all our aisle carpets down. They can also provide carpet or underlay or vinyl for your stands. They do furniture hire, and they do other shell scheme extras like additional storage areas or shelving that you might require in your shell scheme areas. In addition to that, they have it's not on here, but in addition to this, they also have a product called Show Ready, and this could work quite well for some of our exhibitors with stands up to, say, 100 square meters. if they haven't contracted to a stand provider already, GE has a really good system called Show Ready, and it's quite cost effective. So I would recommend a conversation with them about Show Ready if it's something you haven't yet sorted. Visit by GES, we will cover this a little bit later with Daniel's presentation, but I think at the current climate, this is really a big part of the show this year. Visit by GES will provide all our data capture, both in apps and touch points. Our badges will all be electronic this year. We are pushing even heavier than usual on asking people to pre-register. If they pre-register, we will send them their badge prior to the show, so they don't have to go to any other points or any other locations when they come into the NEC. They can literally go straight to the entrances and go into the show. One of the big plus points about Visit, which Daniel will cover, is that a lot of this can be touchless. So although it's called touch, it doesn't actually require a physical touch between human beings. It's literally badge on a touch point. And there's a complete lead management system that runs behind that as well. So Daniel will cover on that a little bit later on. Other services we provide, lubrication. Nigel is our on-site oils, lubricants and coolant provider. They can assist you with providing those lubricants, topping them up during the show, disposal at the end, and they have a team of people on site to help through that. Air Liquide provide all of our cylinder gas. So if you need any bottled gas for typically used in lasers or welding or any other type of requirement, or you require any special mixes, Air Liquide are our partner for that. They have on-site services, and again, they will deliver daily if required, or deliver to your stand during build, and make sure it's all there for you across the show. Please note that they're cylinder gas. They're not compressed air, sorry. They're not compressed air supply. That's the NEC, as I mentioned earlier. Air Liquide are cylinder gas only. But as I say, they are on site and can provide all those services for you. So where can you find this? Well, if you go onto the website, onto the MACH 22 website, you'll find the exhibitor manual, and all of this is in there. And as I said earlier, Nicola will be sending this out to everybody very shortly with all these links. So just want to have a quick look at some of the key deadlines that over the next couple of 3 months that you need to just be aware of, because we don't want people missing your deadlines, because it can become expensive. So first of all, we have our pre-show guide catalogues, which is the catalogue that we will print and it will be distributed with the badges. The deadline for entries into this is the 24th of January, which isn't too far away. What we will be doing, my colleague Nicola again will be emailing out to everybody what you have already submitted on the website under your descriptions and so on. That's where we will pull the information from. So whatever you've completed onto the website is what we will use in the catalogue. So Nicola will send that to you. You can do it yourself, but if it hasn't and you haven't come back to us, then we will be chasing for it. But the deadline is the 24th. The other big one in January is the exhibitor health and safety forms, the contractor passes, and your stand plan submissions. The deadline for those is the 28th of January. Now, you can't actually complete any of the forms until you've completed the exhibitor health and safety form. So I would urge you to get on and do that one. It's not too onerous and it's not too difficult, but it does need to be completed at the first stage. Moving into February, the lifting forms deadline is Friday the 4th of February. This will be directly to ILS, and beyond that, it becomes quite difficult for them to fulfill everything. So if we can try and get all our forms in, we are aware and we know this year that it's more difficult with machinery coming in, and a lack of machinery in the UK at the moment, and potentially coming in from abroad. We do understand some of the difficulties. We are aware of them, but if you can at least make contact with ILS and give them a heads up on what is happening, and if you haven't got the details when you expect to have the details, That's the main thing for them. They really need to understand if it's going to be late or it's not going to come in, or if there's anything special that needs lifting, we need to try and get it into our schedule. So 4th of February for that. 14th of February is the Swarf Removal. So if you're going to need any Swarf removal on your stand, that form has to be filled by the 14th. And any graphics you want to order is by the 18th of February. Into March, and this is the big one that catches people out if you're not careful, early bird electrics. There are preferential rates for electrics for both your machinery and your lighting mains. Excuse me. That early bird discount finishes on the 1st of March. And it is worth having. It's about 20%. So I suggest that's a key deadline for your diary. On the 7th, we have the Catalogue Advert. So if you've taken an advert, we need copy for your the main show catalogue. All the NEC forms are required by the 14th. I mean, you don't have to do it on the 14th. It can all be done beforehand if you've got time. Get it in, but that's the deadline. Coolant for Nigel's team is the 22nd. And then finalising stuff up for shell scheme, extras, carpet and furniture. The very, very last deadline is the 26th of March for that. Moving on to the build schedule. So tenancy at MACH, as a lot of you I know are seasoned exhibitors with us, and you know exactly how this works already. But for those that haven't done it before or just need a bit of a reminder because it's a couple of years, the show is 5 days, running 4th to the 8th of April. But to actually get everything in and get it all built, MACH has one of the longest builds of any show at the NEC. So our tenancy actually starts on the 29th, Tuesday the 29th of March. Now that is for lifting only. So the way this works is we have to build the show from the front nearest the doors, nearest the visitor entrance doors, back towards the access doors where we bring the machinery in. So we will give you an appointment if you're lifting machinery in. That will happen on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. If we will speak to you individually once we know what machines you're bringing in, we will tell you when your appointment is to bring your machines in. So it's all scheduled, and then when you arrive, you'll go in via one of the lorry parks if you've got machines. It will be cooled down, and then we get you unloaded and positioned on the stands. That happens on Tuesday and Wednesday, lifting only days. On Thursday, we have lifting only in the morning. And we can start construction of stands over 150 square meters can begin after 3 o'clock on Thursday. Now, again, for some of the stands that are closer to the visitor entrances, if everything is in and it is safe and we have not got lifting around it, we might be able to start that slightly earlier around midday, and that has happened in the past. But that can't be guaranteed. So that's a conversation with us if required. But it's for only over 150 square meters, and it starts officially at 3 o'clock on the Thursday. On Friday, we've got general construction and lifting. No shell scheme, and then because we've got to build the shell scheme, and the shell scheme is built by GES for us on the Friday, and then on Saturday people can come to start setting up their shell scheme. It should be ready from 8 o'clock onwards. In certain areas of the hall it might be a little bit tight, but if we think that, then we will notify you. And some lifting will still be going on, and that will run through all day Saturday, and then Sunday is the final day of build and the general build area. So that's the schedule for MACH. It is worth saying we are PPE throughout, and during lifting days it will be hard hat and high visibility jacket. It will be high visibility bib or jacket all the way through, but it's appropriate PPE when we are doing lifting. So on your own risk assessments, that's whether you want to cover that with just a hard hat, or whether you also feel you need toe protection or gloves or glasses, depending on what you're doing. Our minimum requirement on lifting days is a hard hat. And obviously all the way through the high visibility jackets. One of the things we do say is appropriate footwear. Appropriate footwear is not things like sandals, excuse me, etc. It is covered toes. So if people are coming in to the halls during any period during the build-up, it needs to be appropriate clothing. From an engineering supply chain show perspective, we will build the shell scheme for that over the weekend. And because the show doesn't open until the Tuesday, the doors effectively to that area of the show will be closed. Shell scheme stands can set up on the Monday, which is the 4th of April, from 8 o'clock. Again, there won't be any hard hat policy in there because there's no lifting, but there will be a requirement for appropriate PPE with a minimum of a high-vis bib. The open period for the show is obviously Monday to Friday. Show is 9 till 5 each day and 9 till 4 on the closing day of Friday. This is for MACH. If you need to access your machinery or anything you need to be done before the show, we open particularly early on the Monday at 6:30 and every other day at 7:30, and that's open until 15 minutes before show opening time, so 8:45. Again, if there's any maintenance or stand cleaning or anything like that required at the end of the day, again on Monday we've got an elongated period 5 till 8, and every other day it's till 6. And then Friday, obviously, we go into breakdown. Engineering supply chain show, opening morning is the Tuesday. We will have access to stands from 7:30 for anything that needs to be done. Has to be completed by 8:45. And then the show opening times for the 3 days that engineering supply chain is open is the same times as MACH 9 till 5. And then on any maintenance or anything required in that show, there's an hour after the show closes each day. Obviously Thursday we're going to breakdown on that show. So breakdown schedule. Can't believe we're talking about breakdown schedule when we haven't even built it, but here's the breakdown schedule. So MACH will close at 4 o'clock on the Friday, and we will go into general breakdown. It is worth saying we do not open the doors and allow contractors into the halls until we have cleared the gangway carpet. So there is a period of time after that 4 o'clock close when we have to get the visitors out, and then we get GES come in and clear the gangway carpets before we can allow any forklifts into the hall. So it typically tends to be around 6 o'clock before vehicles are allowed down to the halls to start clearing the shell scheme stands. At 4 o'clock we will go back into PPE. So if you're on your stand and you're part of the breakdown team, you need to have your high-vis jacket available to put back on at 4 o'clock. If you leave the hall at 4 o'clock and go out and then try and come back in, you won't be allowed back into the hall without the PPE on. So it's well worth remembering, if you're part of the breakdown team, which a lot of you will be, then you need to ensure you've got your PPE on your stand. Saturday is general breakdown and general lifting out, and all stand fittings must be cleared by 10 o'clock on Saturday night. So that's everything's got to be gone by Saturday night. And that leaves us Sunday for lifting only day. So we go into full PPE and hard hats on Sunday and Monday. And we have a deadline to be out by midday on Monday. Again, we will notify through ILS, they will notify you during the show when your breakdown period will be, but they can give you advice on when they think it will be once we've got all of the exhibits in. But if you're first in, it probably means you're going to be last out. So if you're last in, it means you're going to be one of the first out. That's the way it tends to work. So we will clear the halls with the machines from the back of the halls nearest the access doors first. From a breakdown perspective on the engineering supply chain show, we have to be out by Thursday night. They are shell scheme stands, so it should be a lot simpler. But after the show finishes at 5 o'clock, we will go into general breakdown. PPE will be required, and which will be the high-vis jacket, and all exhibits and equipment has got to be out of the hall before 10 o'clock on that Thursday night. So that's the current floor plan, which is very positive, and we're really pleased and very thankful to all our exhibitors that we're in that position. MACH is currently 90% sold, so there are some stands still available, but it is selling very quickly, and we're still receiving a lot of interest currently. You can get an update on the floor plans. MACH is one of the only organisers that still actually puts their floor plans live on the MACH Exhibition website. You can also find one of the biggest volume of questions we get is, can I get a ducting plan showing where all the services for the NEC come through the floor? Can I see a ducting plan for my stand? In fact, you can actually download that via the contractor zone on the MACH website, so you don't need to contact us for that. It's all there for you or for your stand builder to look at. So it's all there for them to do. It's worth noting we were under these regulations in 2018, and it went and 2016, and it went very well. But CDM regulations, construction design management regulations, are in effect at the NEC for our show. So there will be site rules and procedures, and we ask that you make all your staff aware of these and keep signed copies and of the documents for your records. You also need to make sure that any subcontractor working for you at MACH has been notified of these regulations as well, and that they've signed up to them. Effectively, we are a CDM site, but each individual exhibitor has their own CDM requirements in their own exhibition area, in their own stand space. The exemption to this is Shell Scheme, who are literally only stand dressing, so putting up posters or cases or anything like that. So that's the only exemption. If you're a Shell Scheme exhibitor and you're simply doing stand dressing, then you're exempt from some of these rules. Space only stand builds. Currently, there is a lack of capacity in the events industry due to COVID-19. So if you haven't already booked your stand contractor, we recommend you do this as soon as possible. There is a lot less contractors now post-COVID than there were before. If you're having a problem with that, you can't find a contractor and you're looking for somebody, if you contact the MTA, speak to Nicola or speak to myself, we can make some recommendations. Also, the ESSA is able to potentially help, as they have a list of suppliers who are approved by them on their website. So those two things, it's just something we wanted to raise with people. If you haven't got a stand builder, we suggest you do it as soon as possible, just due to a lack of capacity. And the final thing for me to say is COVID-19 measures. So COVID-19 status checks are in operation at the NEC, and currently, unless exempt with proof, all exhibitors and visitors need one of the following items to be able to attend either as an exhibitor or a visitor to the show. That's either a valid NHS COVID-19 pass, which is normally mined through the app, and that's where most people are doing it. Or if you're not got your COVID-19 pass, you need a lateral flow or a PCR negative test result. Again, digitally is fine, but it has to be within the last 48 hours. And for our foreign contractors and exhibitors, it's an EU digital COVID certificate. We will follow the NEC's rules and recommendations and guidelines, and they are all available on the website, and the link is on here and will be on the paperwork that's sent to you later on. So it is worth having a look at that. Those are the rules currently, and as James said, currently they've also got mandatory face masks. Whether that will still be in situ by the time we get to April, nobody knows, and at the moment we can't speculate beyond what the NEC are telling us, which is available on the NEC website. So very much we will follow the NEC's recommendations and requirements. It's also worth saying we will have obviously a number of additional things around the show, such as hand sanitisation stations, which will be located next to all the You Are Here boards and at every entrance. And we will encourage people, obviously, to, in our pre-show marketing, to follow the national guidelines as they are in place at the moment. So I think that's the majority of stuff from me. So happy to take any questions. We can just unshare this screen maybe for a second. If I stop sharing, you can possibly see James and I. Here we are. James, so I think fancy camera.
It was just to reiterate that most of this information is on the exhibitor manual. If anyone needs a read-only link, there's also a read-only link on the website. So if you need to send it to any third-party contractors, you can obviously do so. So I'm just having a quick look at the chat to see if there are any questions. Or if anyone wants to use, there's a raise hand function at the top of the right-hand side of the screen. If you want to use that, feel free to do so and we can come to you. So they've disappeared off my screen, so I'm just going to... So the first question there we've had is about how we're enforcing mask wearing. Again, this will be down to front of house staff. The NEC have a team that are looking at it, which they've done for all the other exhibitions. They will be checking requirements and checking all these statuses for entrance to the NEC. So it won't be done at the show entrance, it'll be to actually get on site to the campus. In terms of enforcing it at show, there are going to be circumstances where people are in hospitality areas on stands where they'll be able to remove masks. I mean, at the moment, we don't know how it's going to work because we don't know what the regulations will be at the time. But if you look at other shows that have run at the NEC, and even in Europe, for anyone that went to EMO this year, most people wore their masks walking around the show, took them off at sensible occasions when they were sat eating and drinking on stands or when talking to other people. But we will just follow the guidance at the time. We don't expect exhibitors to be the ones that are having to police that. There will be people on site doing it, and that will be done at entranceways. There's a question about electrical tariffs, which is now just moved down my screen. Can you confirm electrical power charges are fixed and won't be increased? Those tariffs are going onto the exhibitor manual. As an organiser, we get quite heavy discount from the NEC on electrical prices for three-phase. I do appreciate it is still a very big cost to exhibitors because of the nature of the show. But those will all be uploaded onto the exhibitor manual. If you have prepaid for services for what was going to be MACH 2020, those have been carried across, those orders. If they are new orders, there is, I think, a nominal increase in terms of 1 or 2%, but that full list will be up there hopefully this week. How are visitor registration numbers currently looking compared to previous years at this point? Our visitor campaign in terms of our major promotion starts now, effectively. We always do it in the year of the show. What we tend to find is if we do it in October, November, December, those are the people that don't end up attending. We have been able to carry over some of the registrations from the previous shows. So we've gone out to everyone that's previously registered and asked them to re-register. We are currently tracking marginally ahead of where we were for the last show. Again, we are pushing people, as Ian said, to pre-register because it means they can get the pre-show guide and badges sent out to them. A, it's quicker for when you're on site, but B, it just means everyone's got everything and they don't need to pick anything up when they get there. So they are currently tracking ahead. As I say, it's still relatively early days for our visitor campaign, but you will start seeing more come up in the trade press as well as from us. I think our first one actually goes out tomorrow. So yeah, you'll start seeing those come through as well. I'm trying to keep up on these ones.
Shall I take the next one, James? If the stand was approved for MACH 2020, will it still be approved now? I.e., is there be any change in regulation? No, not as far as I'm aware. There hasn't really been any. So if it's exactly the same, nothing has changed. There shouldn't be any issues. I mean, the main things that we get that are problems are people running walls too long because there needs to be breaks in walls or going over the 4 metre height limit. Those are the two sort of pretty much classic ones. As long as you're under 4 meters and you've got correct breaks in your walls, a lot of the other stuff is important, but it's not so common. Those are the two common ones we get all the time. So you can help yourselves by making sure your stand designs are 4 meters or under, and you've read the rules and you're under the you've got correct breaks in your walls. It's also, remember noting, there's no rigging at MACH, which is due to the lifting schedule, but there is no rigging, so you can't fly lighting rigs. Again, that's one sometimes that people don't realise, and stands will get bounced back for a redesign due to that. When does the show officially open to visitors? It opens on Monday morning at 9 o'clock for MACH, and Tuesday morning at 9 o'clock for the engineering supply chain show.
There's a question we've had there, Ian. If we need a forklift to unload and reload into a van, but we'll use our own pallet trucks to move to and from the stand, is that okay for standard setup days rather than lifting days?
Yes, I mean, normally if they're unloading from a van, they will take it to your stand, which will be included, because it's a set price for an unload, for a lift. So it would be lifted out of a van and delivered to your stand. So you would therefore not need the pallet truck. The issue with pallet trucks around the halls, you can use a pallet truck around the hall if somebody's competent and safe to do so, and it's been risk assessed. But the issue with that is that during build and when carpets go down, it's less easy to move them. So normally, if you booked it in through ILS and you've asked them to unload, they will deliver to stand. They won't just literally unload it and dump it on the car park for you.
There's a few other questions coming through which we're answering as we go along, in terms of Nicola is putting replies to. So yeah, recording will be made available after this. With regard to hanging banners, it's the same rule, I'm afraid. So because we don't allow rigging, we don't allow any suspended banners. We use them for wayfinding and for indicating zones, but otherwise we don't have any at the show. There's a question there with regard to specific stand space design guidelines in relation to COVID. You've seen a reference to no enclosed spaces. Again, we will always have to take the latest advice, but at the moment, I don't know if we've got anything specific on stand builds, Ian.
There's no, at the moment, in the current climate, originally there was, but at the moment there's no, there's advice to try and keep as much air circulation and space circulation on your stand as possible. But I don't remember, I could be wrong. If we'll take that note, Jamie, and we'll come back to you specifically on that one. About if there's anything on enclosed spaces. I'll need to refer to somebody slightly more knowledgeable than me.
I think one thing that's been recommended is people that have got cupboards don't put roofs on them, but very few people do with stand builds because they tend not to be fully built. But yeah, we will come back to you on that one.
Just a quick note that my team have just asked me, just to remind everybody on that question about if you submitted in 2020, will it still be valid? It's unlikely it will need to change, but you still need to resubmit it. So if you submitted in 2020, you have to resubmit for 2022. You can't, we're not just taking the 2020 stuff for obvious reasons. So you do need to resubmit for 2022, please.
Well, and at present, there doesn't seem to be any other questions have come through. If I've missed any, I apologise. I will have a quick look during the next presentation and make sure we have covered everything. If there are any more questions, we are still here. So Ian and I will be able to take questions. Oh, there's one that's just come up there.
So, Chris, no rigging. We have lights on 4 metre high platforms running around the perimeter of our stand. As long as they're floor, lighting to 4 metres, floor supported is permitted. And that's the way everybody does it basically. So that's fine. What we mean by no rigging is it means we can't suspend drop wires from the ceiling, and it's therefore a suspended unit from the ceiling. You have to floor support. That's what it means.
Brilliant. Thanks, Ian. I just really quickly wanted to touch on sponsorship as the next item. Sorry, if you have got any more questions, feel free to keep putting them in and we will come back to these at the end and go through those. Yeah, I just wanted to touch briefly on sponsorship opportunities. We have got a number of opportunities still available. in particular the show guide. So this is the pre-show guide that gets posted out to everyone that's pre-registered, and the on-site catalogue, which has got the product selector in. We have page advertisements in both, which are £600 if you want an advert in either, or if you want one in both, then it's £1,000, so it drops to 500 for each. We are coming up very close to the deadline on that. You'd have seen the 24th of Jan, I think it was, Ian, is the deadline for getting the information across to us. So we will also need adverts by then as well. So if you're interested in that and you want to drop us a line, please do so. And again, I think we've got the inside back cover on one of those as well. There are also various sponsorships in terms of entranceways and floor tiles. If you want to drop us a line and see what we've still got available, please do so and let us know. The NEC also offer a range of sponsorship opportunities, which you can find through our website. If you go onto the sponsorship under exhibiting tab, there's a link through to the NEC. They've got quite a lot in terms of banners outside of halls and on campus, on buses, various others. They've also upgraded a lot of their signage to be digital as well this year. So again, there are some digital signage opportunities, things like in the restaurant windows and various other places. So you can find all those details on our website, and you can contact the NEC directly. Right, we did talk very briefly earlier about various events going on during the week. One of the things I wanted to just draw everyone's attention to is the MTA's annual dinner is taking place on the Thursday evening. This is taking place at the Vox, which is the venue which is above Resorts World opposite the NEC campus. We will be running some coaches around to there, or people can make their own way across. This will be straight from show, so rather than a black tie event, it will be business attire. We'll aim to drinks reception at 5:30, and then the dinner will be at 6:30 to enable people to get away early, because obviously Friday is still an open day of the exhibition. So we will details of that are on the MTA website. If you want to book tickets, then obviously please do so. We have still got some tables and tickets available for that one. So I think I'm right in saying we're now going to hand over to Daniel. Daniel Pearce is from Visit by GES, who look after all our data capture. And he's just going to talk through some of the options we've got, as well as the smart badges and touch points as well. So Daniel, I'll hand over to you.
Excellent. Thank you very much, James. Can I just get someone to confirm they can hear me and see the screen? If that's okay.
Yeah, both working good.
Fantastic. Well, good morning, everybody. As James says, my name's Daniel Pearce. I'm the Client Relations Director for Event Intelligence at GES, and one of the areas that we look after is Visit Connect and the event data. Now, I'm sure some of you have probably worked with us before in previous events. As a business, we work on around about 600 events globally, exhibition events globally a year. And part of my presentation here really today to you is to share some of that feedback and to teach some of that best practice. Not going to do a hard sell or anything like that on you today on you must use Visit Connect or this is how you do it. We'll follow up with details on the actual product and on the packages and everything later and nearer the event. But we found that these exhibitor days are really key. And one of the things that I really like to stress to people on these days is that the success that you have at the event starts right now. And pre-event prep is almost as important as what you're going to be doing at the actual event itself. And that takes me on to my first slide here. So one of the things that we do over our events, and since September, we averaged around about 68 events a month since September, is that we talk with exhibitors and we get feedback and we kind of find out what is happening in the industry and how we can improve on that. And one of the big stats that we find is that 57% of sales driven through an exhibition actually started way before the customer even engaged with your brand. So one of the key things that we like to stress here is that it's really important right now to be getting an insight into what people are interested in, why they would be coming to see you at an event, and making sure that you've got, everything in place that you need to make sure that your consumers are looked after during the event and that you've got everything to be able to convince them that you're the supplier to work with. And a big part of that really is working out who's coming to the event. So obviously, James and Ian mentioned previously that the drive towards registration is really starting now, and you're a big part of that as well. Once the MACH advertising is in place and everything, then actually exhibitors are a big part of that. Finding out who's going. Now that could be from the conversations that you're having right now, that you have a call with someone, you can say, oh, by the way, do you know that we're coming to MACH? Have you made sure that you've registered for MACH? All the way down to things like email signatures, for example. If you can get your marketing teams to design up a little banner, put it on the bottom of your emails, we're at MACH this year, click here to register, come and see us, and really start driving that now. Start asking questions like, what are you expecting to see at MACH? What products are you looking forward to seeing? Who are you looking to meet with at the event? And really driving that both with your potential customers and your existing customers. And if you start doing that now, that then turns into real quality leads at the end of the event. And a big part of that is really being targeted. And this is a number one mistake that we see a lot of exhibitors making, is that they don't think about what their audience wants a lot. They think about what they want to show. So the perfect, rather crude example that I've got on the screen here is that 3 of the people may be interested in coming to see a red car, but that one person may be interested in the speedboat. And if you don't know that pre-event, you might not have the right collateral, you might not have the right products on show, you might not have the right people to demonstrate that. And also the support around that as well is key. Hopefully you're already doing that with your customers and your prospects. So really it's about merging that world and that environment with what you're trying to get from the event and how you quantify that as a successful event as well. And that information that you're gathering now and driving the registration for the event and driving the information that you're gathering is really crucial in the pre-prep towards having a crucial event. And a little case study that we've got here is of a recent exhibitor that we spoke with. They found out that 90 of their clients were registered to come to the event. They spoke with those people beforehand and engaged with them beforehand, explaining what they were going to show. 75% of those people actually attended because they've had those conversations. One of the risks of exhibitions is people registering but they're not actually coming, and that's how you as a collective group of exhibitors turn it around in sort of pre-talking about what you're going to be showing now. From those 90 registered people, they actually came out of the event with 1,000 leads, because if everybody's doing it, it has a collective benefit for everybody. And knowing what we've got, and it just makes a better event for everybody. So in years to come, we know that MACH was a standout event because every exhibitor there was prepped. They knew what we were wanting, they knew what we were going to see, and they were great. One of the other things to think about as well is using the event as the be all and end all of what your brand is doing this year. So if you're thinking right now that you've got new product releases, new services releasing, or just big announcements coming, why not make MACH the place that you make that announcement? And you could broadcast that live from the event, you could do whatever you want. But if you start sort of almost using that tease now that in a few months time we're going to be doing a big release, it's a great way of driving attendance and driving the quality of leads that you can get from an event. So this is one of the big stats, I guess, that we find talking with exhibitors, that 72% of the exhibitors that we speak to rate capturing leads as one of the #1 reasons that they're exhibiting. And I recently had an exhibitor say to me, well, it's actually everything. It's the main reason that we're here. And when you think about it, it kind of is. You can have the best stand in the world. We can have 500,000 people come to it. But if you don't actually get a quality lead that then turns into what you want from the event, be that a sale, be that an increase in some subscriptions, or whatever it is that you're looking for, if we don't get that, then actually where was the success in the event? So capturing leads is really important. And my next slide here is sort of the horror show, really, I guess, for me in my industry and my business is the fishbowl full of business cards. And I'm sure there's someone on the call right now that was planning on doing this, and I'm sorry to burst your bubble if that's the case, but historically this was the way. Look, people used to just collect business cards, maybe not always in a fishbowl. But really, the world has sort of evolved beyond that. That if you're collecting just fishbowl business cards or a list of business cards, realistically what you'll get at the end is a list of contacts. And say we get 1,000 contacts, 1,000 email addresses. All you can realistically do with that is send out one generic email of thank you for coming to see us at MACH. Please, contact us if you need any more information. And, while that has done a job over the years, actually where we're looking to be now is smarter with our offerings and really stand out from the crowd, I think is a key part to that. And I suppose this leads me on really to, well, how do we do that? Well, one of the offerings that Visit Connect will use, and I'm sure a few of you have used this before over previous events, is lead capture. So lead capture, the way we work with this now, you may have historically had it in the days where you had sort of data pens and things and you scanned badges. Everything is app-based and web-based now. So you can use phones and tablets to be able to capture the data. And the reason we've moved to that, away from the data pen that gave us a list worth of just pure email addresses, is really to tailor quality leads. So tailoring questions is a big part of this. Over the coming weeks, you'll see more information about Visit Connect. And if you decide to use it as a product, one of the first things that you can do is tailor questions that you want to ask the leads when you scan their badge. Now, this should be in line with your ambitions and with your priorities for the event. So tailored questions could be something as simple as, are they interested in product 1, product 2, product 3, product 4? What are we showing? Other questions can be things like, how hot was this lead? Was this a cold lead? Is this a hot lead? Is this a boiling hot lead? And when we're putting in questions like that and capturing the data, then actually I know, well, actually I'll focus on my boiling hot leads because they're the ones that may be best for me. And planning your follow-up as well and briefing your staff. So plan your follow-up. Okay, anyone that's interested in product A, what are we sending them? How are we going to follow up with that? Making sure the staff are capturing those questions during the event as well, so that you come out of this event with data that you can really use to turn into success, really, I think is the key part of that. So the lead capture is a huge part. The other part is digital content. So anybody that exhibited at MACH back in 2018 would have seen our touch points, which is where you can touch the touch point. Ian mentioned it earlier. You can touch the touch point and you can collect content. We also offer this, as seen in my display here, via a QR code now as well. So you can have a QR code integrated into your stand or printed onto a sticker or however you want to display that. What the touch points and the QR codes essentially do is they make things digital. Now, historically in the old days, we would have had lots of brochures, lots of leaflets that people could have picked up. And I'm not saying don't do those, but what we can do digitally is make it that I could scan a QR code or touch a touch point, and that can give me any content that you pre-upload into the event. That could be brochures, it could be links to websites, videos, pretty much anything that you can think of. Now, one of the major advantages of digital content is it makes your stand interactive, even if you're not talking with people. The lead retrieval side is great because you can talk to people, you can gather the leads, but actually quite often people want to interact just on themselves. So visitors can come up, scan a QR code, or they can touch their badge on a touch point, and they can interact with your brand and your business without even speaking face to face. And then the real beauty is those that do it both ways. So actually have that conversation about the lead, but also say, can you see here, I've got all this information on product 1 if you scan this. Not only are they getting the content by scanning or touching a touch point, you will also gather their information as a lead. So it works both ways and it's really useful. There's also a third part to this, which is actually a completely new way of getting leads that we've sort of launched over the last few months. And that's within the visitor portal that you can see on the app on the right hand side here. All of your content that you upload will be available through that portal. Now, where that's great is that visitors now look on the portal, and let's say they missed your stand, which hopefully they don't, but let's cover all of the bases, I guess. If they missed your stand, they could see your exhibitor there and all of the content and all of the literature that you've put about your business. If they decide to grab that, that also generates a lead for you. So it's yet another way of having a lead. You've got physical on site, but you're also that. And that will also work post the event as well. So actually one of the biggest advantages of the visitor portal is that you might still get leads even once the event's closed and shut. So that's a really big benefit to it. One of the things that I stress always to exhibitors is real time and responding in real time, and this is where exhibitors stand out from the crowd. Is the honest answer. When you scan a badge, when someone scans a QR code, when someone touches the touch point, all of that data syncs live into a web portal called Visit Connect. Now that's fantastic. We get a big, huge list, hopefully, of all of our leads that we've generated during the event. But the exhibitors that really stand out are the ones that maybe monitor this during the event. And I'm not saying the people that are on the stand should be looking at this, because you've got other priorities at that point. But if you can afford to have someone back in the office monitoring this, and it comes through and it says, oh, okay, Ed at the top of the list there is interested in product one, then someone at the office could email Ed straight away. This is all the info on product one. This is the person that leads it up. This is how we've moved forward. If you're interested, how we go here. If I'm Ed walking around the event and I've already got all that feedback, it automatically makes me feel a valued client of you. And if I am umming and ahhing between you and maybe a competitor or another product that's at the event, the fact that you've responded in real time and given me that information really makes you stand out as a supplier. So if you can afford that resource to respond in real time, it's something I would definitely consider now in your pre-event planning and your pre-event prep. It really stands out. Just again, invites. I mentioned it earlier, but invite as much as of your database and as much as your existing and potential client database as you can to the event. Follow up with them, engage with them as much as you can, because actually, if you're just relying on people coming up and hoping that they turn up on the day, you won't have as successful as an event as if you start pushing and prepping now and making sure that the right people come. So just keep that in mind, and also start to quantify what you want as success from the event. So it's not always sales. And the case study that I've got here, just briefly to explain, is they didn't overly want to quantify the success of the event as sales. They wanted new subscribers to a web platform, and that may be what you want. You may just want this to open a door for you. Really understanding that at this point is key. Now, my next slide here is probably the scariest slide ever, and for me, this is a nightmare. 80% of leads that are taken during an event are not followed up with post-event, which is just criminal, I guess, from our point. You've put all of that effort into a stand and you've gone through to it. So really about prepping that and planning that now. How are we going to follow up? What information do I need to follow up correctly? What stats do I need to do that? And hopefully when I'm doing this presentation in a couple of years, this will have drastically dropped, because essentially, in my eyes, everything that you do, if you're not following up with the leads, is a bit of a nightmare. So as an industry, we're looking to drive that figure a lot lower. And I mentioned a second ago about measuring success as well. The team from MACH might not be too happy about me saying this, but really what you need to do is quantify how you see this as a successful event and set targets based around that as well. So you know what you're investing in the event. So turn that round into, okay, based on my investment, what classes is a good return on my investment, and drive those targets and work out how you're going to get to those targets. How am I going to get X amount of people to come to my stand? How am I going to turn those into leads? What questions do I need? What information do I need? And that's how you will really work out how successful your return on the investment is here. And obviously every lead and every sale that turns into then helps you make a decision on how you move forward in the future. So that's really key as well. So just to finish on and go over that, the real areas that I'm looking at to cover with you guys is pre-event, making sure that you're working out who's attending, who's coming, book them to come and see you. Say, look, I'm going to be on the stand from this time to this time, come see me. Get that working literally from now and from now to maximize your return on your investment at the event. And then at the event, organizing your lead capture, making sure that you're capturing data that's of quality to you and of use to you. And then post-event, it's there 3 times for a reason. Just follow up. Make sure that you're measuring, those follow-ups. Make sure that if you're using your own CRM systems, then fine, but make sure that you're following up. With that, Visit Connect also has a notes section. So look, I followed up with Dave. He's interested in this. Going to contact him again in a week. Little things like that. So yeah, just carry on with the follow-up, and really you'll have a successful event. We will follow up with more literature on how Visit Connect works, on packages, prices and offerings over the next following weeks. But really, this was just to give you an idea of the success of your event starts today, I guess, is the key thing. So yeah, thank you for your time. As I said, my name is Daniel Pearce, and if you've got any questions, I can see there's a couple in the chat. I'm not sure if the team from MACH want us to answer it. I don't know on your times whether you're okay with that, but I'll stop sharing. And
hi Daniel, yeah, there's a couple that have come to us. I think a lot of them have been covered off. Thank you so much for that. That's really appreciated.
No problem.
One question that's come through there: are the touch points the same dimensions as previously?
They are indeed, yes.
Yeah,
yes,
I know there's a few people that build them into their stand dimensions. So yeah, they are excellent.
Yeah.
I think there's other questions that have been answered in there. Just as a quick one, when you've got the phone app, you can scan. Am I right in thinking you can scan the barcode on people's badges as well?
That's correct. Yes. Yeah.
So it works both ways, so that you can share that information. Brilliant. I'm just keeping an eye out now to see if there are any other questions that come through. Just to remind everyone that information on everything discussed today, including the data capture, is all on the exhibitor manual. All the information is there. So please have a look there. If you are struggling to find anything, obviously let us know. If you need your login details again for those, again, let us know. But those have all been sent to people. So I'm going to hold off for a quick 30 seconds to see if there is any other questions. Otherwise, we will be distributing this presentation this whole morning via a link. It'll take us probably until tomorrow just to turn it around, and then we'll send that link out to everyone, but we'll get that out ASAP. Good question there in terms of how much access do we get to pre-registered event attendees in order to reach out. We are putting together MACH bulletins, which will go out initially on a fortnightly basis, but then move to weekly quite quickly. What we do there is we take stories from exhibitors about what's going to be on show, and we'll probably include 3 or 4 of those. We do that by taking it from the news section of our website. If there is anything specific you want highlighted, then you can send it to me. We obviously have a limited amount of space, but if you want to send it to me for consideration, I'd be more than happy to take a look at that. Otherwise, any news uploaded onto the website is what we use to pull through onto that to encourage people to register. Similarly, of course, once you've logged into the website, it allows people to make direct contact with you. So as people start registering for the event itself, they can log in, favourite exhibitors, and they can actually contact you directly if you've got contact details in there as well. So you can start talking to people ahead of the show, which, as Daniel said, is absolutely key as well. That seems to be all the questions we've got. So I think all that remains for me is to say a big thank you to Daniel and to Ian for this morning. If you've got any other questions that come up after this, feel free to drop us an email. And otherwise, we will be in touch, I'm sure, before the show. So thank you all very much and enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you.